I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is now 11:17 on this 18th day of September. So welcome back from a wonderful summer. I hope you all enjoyed, and happy fall. Sundown today, I believe, is the first day of fall, so we have a lot of exciting things planned for fall. Before I begin, I just want to check in with our friends on the phone if this level is okay and you can hear us.
But Christine, it's actually pretty hard to hear you.
I didn't actually hear that. So.
She said it was pretty hard to hear you.
How about now? Can you hear us now?
That's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. Can you hear Christine? Okay, so Ellie, is this a better tone?
I'm sorry, what was that? You said it's there.
See, I think these speakers need to be closer.
Yeah, they can't closer.
How about we push these up? Take you back to those days. All right, how's this?
That's much better.
Better. Okay, very good. We figured it out. Thanks to Thurman.
Technology.
So, all right. I want to make sure that everyone received a copy of the minutes via email, and Lisa has extra copies if you do need them. Are there any changes to the minutes? Motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
So you'll second Dan and Peter. Okay, made the motion. Okay, before we get into the agenda, I have to announce that Tourism Advisory Council member David Heyman from Syracuse has resigned from the TAC. David had several other commitments, including his involvement with NISHDA and the Greater Syracuse Hospitality Tourism Association, so he felt he was unable to devote the proper time and effort to be effective with TAC. We will miss David, but this leaves us with 3 vacancies on the council, and those vacancies have to be filled by the elected official who appointed them. So we hope that will happen soon. We now have 15 members on TAC, but a quorum is still 10 members, regardless of how many TAC members we have. So it's more important than ever that we try and attend these meetings in person when possible so that we can vote on items such as subcommittees, which we will not take a vote on today. So traditionally, we have 18 members on TAC. Now we only have 15. Ross, and Gavin, we've made it clear to, I think this is in the Senate, right, that we have these 3 openings so that they will do their best to try and fill these promptly. And Lisa, I'm sorry, you'll make sure that we try and fill these promptly? Yes, very good. So thank you all of those who were able to attend the Tourism Summit in May at the American Museum of Natural History. Oh, we're joined by Senator Betty Little. Are you comfortable there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Squeeze over, okay, because the speaker was not working so well, so.
I just spoke with them. They said that the speaker works fine. The people on the phone, they might have to turn up their volume on your end because these people really pick up everything. Because at the webcast, you said they can hear us all fine. So that might just be everybody individual to the volume.
Okay. It was a great success. We're talking about the Tourism Summit at the Museum of Natural History. We had 350 tourism industry stakeholders in attendance. Some of them really worked hard on getting there. Traveled over 24 hours, 5 different planes. Next year it's going to be 10 different planes. You walked 10 miles. So we're very happy that you were there. The day began with a video recap of what we have done since our last summit and frame the day. So I am to cue the video for those of you that were not there, or we can use it as a reminder. So
I'm getting used to this remote. I'll get used to it by the time the meeting is over.
But at the event after the video, the governor led a discussion with other tourism industry leaders about these successes and how the state can go to the next level with its support of tourism and the tourism industry. And we had a lunch presentation by Ecotourism by Catherine Mack. She's the author of New York State Responsible Travel Guide and embarked on a month-long eco-fam tour of New York State. We also had 2 breakout sessions after lunch. The Success in Tourism session looked at regional tourism successes and best tourism practices around the state with 3 TPAs. Gary DeYoung from the Thousand Islands International Tourism Council, Ronald Offner from the Adirondack Regional Tourism Council, and Gregory Marshall from Visit Rochester. They shared campaigns and tactics that could hopefully serve as inspiration for other sites and regions. The international session featured Robert Kaislitz from the I Love New York Europe office and Brenda Hu from the I Love New York China office. They presented an overview of current and planned activity to increase travel to New York State from their markets. One of the biggest innovations at the summit was a business-to-business networking session that connected tour operators with our regional tourism promotion agents. We were very pleased to create this opportunity at the summit to get real business that could have an immediate impact on tourism. After those breakout sessions, we reconvened at the U-shaped table, previewed the new summer tourism commercials, and announced new efforts that we would be taking to increase tourism. These included a 50% increase in tourism funding, new partnerships with NYC and Company, DEC Parks, and the campground owners of New York, expanding both our mobile presence with the I Love New York app and transportation access with the I Love New York bus, both of which Gavin will speak about today, and many others that you can read about in the press release, which you have in front of you. Then we wrapped up the summit and went on to a great reception in the museum's Hall of Clients hosted by Taste New York, which featured delicious New York State wines and hors d'oeuvres. We look forward to many more summits, and I'd be happy to take any questions about the summit. Anybody has? So our next item is about subcommittee discussions. And unfortunately, as we mentioned earlier, we do not have a quorum to officially vote on the subcommittees, but we have a handout for you of the proposed committees to review for discussion. You'll remember that we've been talking about convening 3 subcommittees to work on particular issue areas, and over the summer we asked you about your willingness to serve on them. I think it makes the most sense, even though we don't have a quorum, that we should start having these meetings. And since it's, fall, and I think what might make the best sense, and Gavin and I discussed this, is to have Ross, Levi really try and coordinate those meetings so that they take place. And we are very, very respectful of your time. We know the last thing you want to do is go to another meeting, so we'll try and make these conference calls that will fit within your schedule. So Ross will be in touch with you shortly about those calls. And now I will hand it off to Gavin Landry for his Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Christine. Before I get into the details, I just want to reiterate what a privilege it is for us to have this opportunity to speak on behalf of the entire team, to do this on behalf of the governor, and also to have the leadership and support of Christine and the TAC move forward past a great summer season. So the team remains humble and very grateful. So it's been a busy summer. It was a very fast-paced summer, even though last summer seemed even as busy as we could have imagined. I think Lizette told me that since she started with us, which is March-ish, May, we've done over 40 events, and you'll hear more from Lizette coming up soon. But a few of the items I wanted to update you on today are our CFA, which is a consolidated funding application, as you know, is the method by which Empire State gives grants to programs and projects that are identified by the regional councils. We have ours, which is called Market New York, and currently we're managing $23 million worth of tourism projects. Round 4, which is the current round, all of the projects are in, and the draft scores have been submitted. The SIA, which is the assessment team, which Christine sits on, I think maybe the only non-governmental person on the SIA, met last week, and soon decisions and awards will be made to the various folks that are in round 4. But as I mentioned, $23 million of the projects ongoing that are being managed by the Division of Tourism, and exciting ways that we're thinking about even improving it going forward in the next year as round 5. So that's Market New York. As far as the summer and fall advertising, I'd refer you in your packet. There are a couple of handouts, if you don't mind. The one that is the thickest has 2 pages, I suppose, on both sides. This is an installation we just completed in Terminal 4 at JFK. And I don't know, has anybody walked past this recently? You've seen it, a few heads are shaking. We're particularly proud of this installation because we had to get approval from Customs and Border Protection prior to us doing this installation. Those walls were, it's got to be, Patty, what do you think? Is it a mile? I don't know. It might be a mile-long corridor, which was called literally the sterile corridor. And so now we have these beautiful photographs in 11 different languages, which covers off on 95% of all international travel to New York State, saying welcome, and you're appreciated that you're here in New York State. So the governor's initiative to both beautify the airports as well as extending a warm welcome to our visitors is part of this installation at T4. And again, cooperation from Washington on the approval process. The other piece that you have in here is just the MTA, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North out-of-home campaign As you know, we go to each of the regions, we identify an asset, we then have that asset deployed both physically on the trains and on our digital platforms, our social platforms. I'll refer you to on the back where you see the picture of Lucille Ball. That's for the Lucy Desi Museum. We actually had the pod, which Lizette's going to talk about, at the Comedy Festival this year. But I point that one out only because our friends in Jamestown want to make Jamestown the comedy equivalent of what Cooperstown is in baseball. And it's a great place. If you haven't been, go. It will blow you away. It's when I first saw the set, which they have there, you kind of take a double take because you've never seen it in color. As you know, it's like so that is the out of home, and then on the advertising, we are very fortunate to have a continuation of our celebrity campaign. Lisa's going to work her magic, but this weekend, I believe we started airing the Al Roker spot you're about to see. Stanley Tucci, who many of you know, both from Broadway and on film. And we're also going to show you a piece of media that we acquired as a result of our participation in Bassmaster Street. So with that, we'll turn to Lisa here and her technical prowess. You're doing great. I don't think you're doing that at all.
It is the best lake in the world I've ever been to. I love New York. It's cold. It's cold. I love this in New York. Thank you, guys. I couldn't think of a better place to be this week.
I'm Al Roker, and New York is my home. There's no place like it in the world. When the season turns to fall, my favorite places are just a stone's throw from Manhattan. Lots of great weather, and even more great history. Plus plenty of arts and culture. Amazing fly fishing, and a Halloween party that's scarier than stormy weather. Come discover your favorite part of New York. Find your fall getaway at iloveny.com/fall. There's something for everyone.
I'm Stanley Tucci, and I love New York. There's no place like it in the world. One of my favorite fall activities is visiting our world-renowned wineries and craft brewers, and award-winning distilleries and cider makers. They're located all across our great state. Come raise a glass to your favorites. Plan your fall getaway at iloveny.com/fall. There's something for everyone.
So we're very proud that we're going to continue the campaign, and I will tell you, we just did a study on perceptions and people's awareness of New York State tourism assets, among other aspects, and it came back very favorably. I believe the out-of-home campaign is working. I believe that the advertising has covered off on so many different elements and assets that in the past year and a half, again, under Christine's leadership and the governor's vision, we've been able to really make a difference there. So that's something we're very proud of. Other things that I'd like to discuss with you today, the international tourism effort. As you know, everyone is interested in China. China is becoming the most valuable source market of all outbound source markets. We opened our office in China months ago. The first things that we did, we have 4 locations away in China where we have offices now. We brought the Chinese representatives. We were one of the deal breakers. I said, you can't represent us if you haven't seen us. So they came on an 8-day fam tour of New York State. Those reps from the various offices in China. We followed that up with what we call a China Ready workshop. And we did those workshops in 3 different locations throughout the state. We brought over an expert on China and Chinese culture. We also 7 tour operators from mainland China. We then had a B2B session with those that attended. I think there were some 300 folks that attended the China Ready workshops throughout the state. It got not only great exposure in the press and the media, but it also really did the hard work and the good work that we want to do, which is to educate our partners and get them as connected to the Chinese travel market as possible, and cause the Chinese travelers to think of all of New York State when they come to visit us, and think about these itineraries and getting products in market. So that's something that we're working on very closely with our China team. We do have a site on Weibo, which is a Chinese social media site. We're also on WeChat, so look us up. We're really looking at social media between both China and what we're doing here locally. It's a full-blown effort, and I think that over time, these things do take some time, but we're hopeful that the numbers will then start to report themselves back from the various attractions. Another element from our China efforts, we had a major press event at JFK for China Southern. China Southern, as you know, is the third largest airline in the world, not just in Asia. China Southern announced a direct flight from Guangzhou to JFK, I believe 4 or 5 times a week, I'm not sure. I want to say at least 4, but maybe 5 times a week, bringing over the latest, Patty would know, or Aaron would know, the jet is at a 7... That sounds right, yeah, the fancy, big boys, yeah, that's coming directly from Guangzhou. This is, I think, the 3rd city for China Southern in America. They're about to have San Francisco, I believe, later this fall. So it's a really important thing for us to have lift, what they call lift or air travel, from the various places in China. And again, we're working not only with the carrier, but we have a partnership now that we announced that day with the chairman of China Southern that includes what we call the New York State Anthem, which is the video that you see online, with Chinese subtitles. So, lastly, on the international front, we are also well through the RFP and scoring process on locking down our Australia representatives. We had some really interesting and terrific proposals from the Australia office. Australia is in the top 5 now for Niagara Falls as a destination. The Australians have experienced the West Coast in full and are starting to really focus their travel in America on the East Coast, and as such represent a valuable source market. So we will soon be locking down the Australia representative and doing the similar type of work we've done with China, with the exception of the fact that you don't have to overcome the language barrier with Australia. You have that going for you. Other initiatives that I just wanted to mention to you, Bassmasters, you saw the video this past weekend. That tournament ran as if it were real time on ESPN and ESPN2. That media ran at the same time, and so they were seeing it. All the fishing enthusiasts were seeing it as if it was happening in Union Springs this past weekend. And of course, you wouldn't have known it because it's such great weather still. It could have been happening there. And so that, and as a makeup for in fact, I don't even know a makeup for what. There was one piece of the element that had to change. They're going to run it again for us in a few weeks. The same commercial at no charge to us, Bassmasters. So really a great partner. And Bassmasters will be coming back to New York State next year to Waddington, which is in the North Country. They held the Bassmasters Elite Tournament there last year. Other things to talk about that are upcoming. Of course, we don't break news, so to speak, here at the TAC meeting, but there are things that are well along their way. And one of those things is the mobile app, our version 2 of the mobile app. The intention with the mobile app, and Anna Packman, who is hopefully watching or listening, our head of digital for all of ESD, has really been leading this effort. We intend for the mobile app to be your best friend when on the road. I don't know if you've ever found yourself in a situation where you are in a location, you think, what's going on right now? What's happening right now? Where's a great place to eat? What should I do? Help me, someone guide me, lead me, tell me what to do. This app is intended to be your best friend on the road, and we really are. We've already done several rounds of testing. We had a usability study where users were videotaped, recorded, and their commentary was used to make changes to the app prior to its launch. We're very hopeful that within the next few weeks that we will put it in market. It will be in iTunes and Google for everyone to download. And of course, we'll ask all of you to help push your friends to download it because we need everybody to start using it. Lastly, before I pass it back to the chairman, we are onboarding a new representative for our social media this week. This group is called Glow. They are New York-based and independent operation. We formerly had a group named Cake, which is part of the Abbas group. They were with us for about a year, and then before that we had a group named Fluency, which did a great job. We have selected Glow based on a number of factors, one of which they're a a very strategic thinking organization. We really want to see our social media not just create awareness, but actually drive visitation. And we want to have a pull-through. We want to be able to see that pull-through. So don't just tell them that there's a great mountain. Then get them to that mountain and cause folks to be inspired and actually travel. And Glow came to us with a proposal that we think is going to be very successful on that front. As part of the onboarding process, I had one of our good friends, Josiah Brown, who has a company called New York Experiences that's been representing us at a number of events, build a deck which is intended to be bring New York State to the Glow team. We couldn't have the whole Glow team travel the state, not yet anyway, so we decided that we were going to use an onboarding piece to get them fully aware of the assets as best as we could. And this same piece of training, so to speak, is what we're going to use for our Australia team in order to onboard them before they can actually travel the entire state. And we'll also use it for our international training academies, where we're going to start certifying New York State travel experts at the various agencies and outbound markets, outbound source markets. So, for instance, Thomas Cook in the UK will be training their reps on all of New York State. They'll get certified, and then they'll have regular communications with us. It's somewhat of a big kind of tried and true tourism practice that we're embarking on. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, actually,
Am I tossing
to
to
Ross.
Toss it to Ross.
Right, and so some other initiatives that we want to make sure you are all aware of. Following up on the mobile app, you may have seen the commercials with Robert De Niro that really brings forth the governor's priority of making it easier than ever to get around New York. And part of that is the mobile app. Part of that is also what you're seeing as you drive around the state. So there's been a real effort around road signage and travel plazas and kiosks. Hopefully you've seen some of the 3,000 signs that have gone up over the summer, branded with Patriot History, Taste New York, and I Love New York. Those include hundreds of sites that have never had signage before, and at no cost to them in many cases, actually in all cases. So that is a real terrific ad for those sites, but hopefully most important for the travelers as they move around. This has been part of an effort overall, as I was saying, to make the roads really appealing to travelers. There's another effort that's being done with DOT, the Thruway Authority, and Ag and Markets, to make sure that our travel plazas, when you pull into the travel plazas on the Thruway, that they actually feel like a sort of New York experience, that there's a sense of place, that there's a sense of these weren't created just to have McDonald's, these were created to make you feel like you're part of New York. As the governor says, it's not welcome to McDonald's, it's welcome to New York, right? So there's been some efforts to make sure that the signage, both interior and outside and inside, is giving that welcoming feel, giving a real sense of the branding of New York's initiatives, tourism initiatives. The taste stores, we made a very successful taste store that's open on the Taconic Thruway. The idea of what are some other places where we can have some Taste New York stores as well. And then there's also some work on some kiosks that are going up, particularly the Adirondacks. Right? The recommendations. Well, I don't see your thunder. Go ahead.
No, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but when you are traveling to Northwest and you reach the Adirondack Park, which is just south of Lake George, from there until almost Plattsburgh, there are no signs. You cannot have lodging, restaurants, gas station, or attraction signs. Not been able to do it. I've been working on it since I was in the assembly, and we are getting some signage, some background history signs. I mean, we have some great museums and things and places nobody will know about. So, and the kiosks are really going to be excellent places where we have texting stops. And we still have some work to do on our rest areas. And we have a couple of rest areas that are closed and need to be dismantled and made into a parking area. So we're working on all of that, but it's more progress than I've seen in my 19 years in the legislature. So I'm really pleased.
Senator, is that a state DOT or a federal DOT rule that prevents the signage on?
Well, I've always heard that it was a Lady Bird Johnson beautification highway, no signage. But I have to go down south a lot. In Alabama, we have a place we drive. And I believe what they're talking about, and I think the commissioner of DOT is the one who said, you can't have billboards. And I think when you go down south in a mile, you're gonna have 15 billboards. And that had to be what she was talking about. Right? But you get off, until you get off exit 29, there's nothing. The McDonald's closed, the gas station closed, the country stores only open certain times during the summer. And if you go in the western direction, there's nothing. Until you get to Newcomb, and there's not much there either. So it's a safety issue, but it's definitely so much improved and more to do. But and we're not asking for all those sets of signs. We're just asking for attraction signs.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we don't want the south of the border signs.
No, and even you don't need the gas station because there aren't many gas stations.
Right.
You can't get into the hotels, motels, and all that stuff. So that's the kiosks are really. I talk to my tourism groups that I meet with, and they're very happy with that. They're in there for free, and you can put your smartphone up against their little doodad and find out all you need to know about them. So that's I think it's great progress. And thank you.
Another initiative that we were busy at work on through the summer was promoting the New York State Fair at the recommendation of the governor. There was the thought that I Love New York could do more than we've done even in previous years to make sure that all of the state knew about this exciting asset and activity that was going on. So it was last spring that we met with the New York State Fair personnel and officials and really started talking about and then putting together a real campaign to promote the fair, particularly downstate in New York City and markets outside of the greater Syracuse area. It was one of the interesting things Gavin and I found out when we met with them and looking at their market research was really how many people come to that fair within a half hour, 45-minute drive. I mean, it's upwards of like 2/3 to 3/4 of their attendance is from that area. And so there's a real market not far away at all, never mind in New York City and downstate. So we had a campaign that included radio ads, PR pitches, social media posts, even some contests where we gave away some concert tickets, promotion at our live events, those 40 live events that we were doing across the summer, giving out pamphlets so people knew that stuff was going on. Inclusion on our website, prominent visibility throughout, in our PSAs, in our newsletter. So as you can hear, it's really trying to be a really cohesive strategy to use all our assets and all our platforms to make sure people knew about the fair. It appears to have had a good impact. There were 2 new daily attendance records for the fair this year, and overall attendance increased by over 114,000 for last year. So I don't know that we can take credit for all of that, but we'd like to think we could take credit for at least part of that.
That's on a base of 850,000, so it's significant.
Yeah. And we also made sure that I Love New York was utilizing the fair to promote tourism throughout the state. We actually had a new I Love New York pavilion at the state park at the fair, which was a really significant upgrade. Jim Clemente here helped a lot on that effort. We also had prominent inclusion of the governor's booth this year. If you saw Governor Cuomo's booth, had a whole I Love New York panel that talked about all the amazing things that the governor has done to increase tourism, including running that video you saw on a continuous loop so people were able to see that. We also partnered with the LGBT booth at the fair to have the I Love New York LGBT initiative highlighted there. So we were very excited about that effort, and we're actually going to be meeting with them, the fair folks, again in another week or so to do a debrief, talk about what worked, what can be done even bigger and better next time. Speaking of the I Love New York LGBT initiative, summer's a busy time for that initiative, with Pride Month being in June. We had activations at 8 Pride events all across New York State. Most people think only New York City has Pride, but in fact, we have a dozen here in New York State, actually more than a dozen. We had activations booths at 8 of them, and then we sent materials to another 9 to promote the initiative. What we were doing importantly was gathering contact information for people that were attending, and we got information from over 2,000 people, which allows us to stay in communication with them throughout the year. We've already been sending them emails to think about vacation opportunities. So we sent them, for example, an email on the state fair saying, there's an LGBT booth at the state fair. You should come by and see that. Oh, by the way, while you're there, what a great opportunity to do a Finger Lakes vacation. We're going to be doing the same thing for Image Out in Rochester, which is the LGBT Film Festival that's coming up there. We're getting ready for other upcoming events. There's a Travel Gay Canada conference in October that I'll be attending. We're getting ready for a gay ski weekend in Canandaigua coming up in January, and the GLBT Expo in New York City. So a lot of activity around that. Pathway History, all of you know about the Governor's Heritage Tourism Initiative. The summer, again, is an important time for that initiative, coordinated by Rowena Sabuli, my colleague, who's hopefully on the phone as well, down in New York City. This has been the second year of Pathway History Weekends, which were held in June, which were a series of activities literally all across the state, 370 events at historic sites all across the state, which I Love New York then helps to promote and bring attention to. There was a 37% jump in participation from previous years, so we're very excited about that. We kicked off the Pathway History Weekends with a big event at Grand Central Terminal. It's part of Metro North's Staycation Showcase Getaway Day, where we invited historic sites from around the state to have reenactors and displays and all kinds of things in Grand Central for the commuters and tourists that go through there every day. And we further supported the Pathway History Weekends with I Love New York press releases and social media, so people were aware of that. So that's a quick overview of a few other initiatives, and then Gavin had a couple last two that he was going to just touch on.
Yeah, so the other initiative that just wanted to keep you kind of up to speed, no pun intended, is the I Love New York bus. We have a vendor. We've gone through the RFP process. We are not yet announced the vendor. The contract is still under negotiation, but we are fully through the RFP process, so therefore we can speak about it today. But our goal is to target the I Love New York bus later this fall to agritourism assets. Then that will be followed up by potentially an event or two, and then the ski mountains throughout the state that are viable going concerns both for day and overnight trips. And then finally, as we get towards the beginning of the year and into the spring, we'll go back towards an event and agritourism focused on the I Love New York bus. I will tell you, I'm very excited about the firm that is going to be awarded, and they are tried and true. Very, very excited about the partnership and about the brand. Our goal is not this is not a bus that will be revenue guaranteed by the state of New York. We will not, if they sell 20 seats, we're not going to pay them for the other 30 seats. That's not how it's going to work. It's going to be a viable going concern. And our goal is, as time goes on, through using our promotion vehicles and whatever else we can do to help to market this in conjunction with the operator, is in 5 years that there might be 7, 10, 15, 20, I don't know how many route buses traveling throughout New York State, driving visitation, and becoming a go-to form of transportation for those that want to get to these things that they were not aware of before or just were too hard to get to, frankly. So we're excited about it. I think we're working with SANY, which is the Ski Association of New York. We're working with ORDA, the Olympic Redevelopment Authority, trying to identify both the appropriate ski mountains and working with the mountains themselves and the packagers within the market to develop overnight and day trip packages for the I Love New York bus. So very, very excited about that. And that will conclude my report.
Okay. Wow, very exciting, Gavin. I'm just on the bus, just a quick question.
Sure.
I understand that Hunter is opening today. And is there an announcement with a ski bus at Hunter today? Or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that will come later.
We have a presser that we're planning for, Linda, is it October 1st or 2nd?
October 1.
October 1, we have a media trip already planned for 10 or so media to Long Island for the wine tours on the I Love New York bus, which will be fully wrapped by then. We just approved the last of the design last week. So I don't think, unless they may be doing something.
Yeah, because
I know
obviously I don't think it's open for skiing yet, so but they're doing some kind of press.
Sandy's annual meeting is at 100 this week.
That's what's happening. And I think Ken Adams is speaking
Yes,
there.
yes, tomorrow night, I think. Yeah.
Great, thank you so much. Terrific reports. So let's move on to the program reports, starting with a highlight of some of the events I Love New York participated in this summer, presented by Lizette Montiera.
So to echo what Gavin Karen said earlier, it was definitely an incredibly busy summer. We did move around, crisscrossed the state quite a bit, and attended approximately 40 events in 20 counties. So we saw thousands and thousands of people and a few celebrities. And so everything from motorcycle rallies, fishing tournaments, wine and food events, boat shows, pride events, car races, comedy festivals, antique car shows, mountain bike races, festivals, golfing, concerts, and of course the fair. So we really focus on a lot of different lines of it, as well as been happening throughout New York State. So our mission at all of these events was to inspire travel, and we did that in using various forms of engagement. We wanted to make sure that all the content was curated and that everyone was getting sort of a personalized service. We didn't want to just hand out brochures. We wanted to be able to talk to people in a way that they would find engaging and want to plan a vacation.
I think Lisa's, you might be a slide or two behind her. Can you just sync that up? Which one? There we are. Okay.
So what we did is we curated the content by interest and organized them by destination. So we wanted to make sure that the content that was in play at the events was resonating with the audiences that were attending. We migrated to the use of digital and interactive content to complement the printed materials. We used video and large format photography to showcase the offerings, and we injected a bit of fun with quizzes and giveaways. So the big thing we did this year is we launched the I Love New York pod. This is our mobile tourism display that the image on the right is what it looks like when it's closed and actually traveling down the highway on a flatbed trailer. So we call it our moving billboard. And then the image on the left is what it looks like when it's open. And so it may be hard to see on the screenshot, but all the way to the left of the pod there's a screen. So on that screen we show commercial spots, but also a calendar of upcoming events. So really to as people can use this as a centerpiece to think about upcoming weekends. And then on the right was a wall of collateral of distribution materials again that we customized per event in speaking to the audience. These are just some more images. The image on the top left is what the pod looks like on the rear side. So from all sides, it really is quite visual. And truthfully, we had so many questions on the images themselves. So there's an image of Gold Castle in the front, and we had so many people come up to us and say, "Where is that?" I never knew there was something so beautiful in New York State. So just having this focal point really worked even to generate conversation and to really push travel.
Credit where credit is due. This was Lizette's concept from Jump Street, and it was one of the strategic elements that she brought in to think about when it comes to the events, and having a trailer with a pod, this big box, going up and down the interstate for the entire summer. It was really quite exciting.
And I passed it on the highway once.
It's surreal, right?
So in terms of our digital content, we created an app that was exclusive to events, and it was called Tell Us What You Like, and we'll tell you where to go. It's very, very simple, but all you did is you walked up to this iPad, we were there obviously guiding visitors through it. You selected the things you'd like to do most in New York State, and out spit a list of places you should go for golfing, for canoeing, for beaches. And then that list of locations was then emailed to everyone personally. So the idea is they go home and then they're able to link through to all of those things and actually plan a trip around it. So that was a great tool. We also, in order to engage visitors in a fun way, we came up with a trivia quiz. And it was an unbelievable success. Because it was a tool to engage people in a fun way and get them to really, maybe even learn something new about New York State. But it was a conversation starter. So when we were talking about, the highest zip line in New York State, no one knew that existed. That was in Hunter Mountain. So we were able to then get people thinking about other places that they had never considered. So those who got 6 out of 10 right won a free I Love New York shirt. And I just showed Gavin an image at the Outer Balloon Festival this weekend, where at 6 in the morning there were lines of 20 deep people who wanted to take this quiz. So it was a really great success. So I think that that just this quiz actually did inspire travel. Yeah. And then touching on what Ross mentioned, we also did lead generation. So we collected thousands of emails, and we are now sending all of those people our monthly newsletter to keep them up to date on events happening throughout New York State. But we also sent them a survey, and we really we got an excellent response rate of almost 10%, which by industry standards is pretty high. And it just told us, gives a snapshot of how we were doing in the market. So some of the results are, we believe we did, in fact, successfully inspire travel. 62% of people who visited our booth got new ideas of places to go and see in New York State. So I think that's definitely a big success, and we're happy to see that. And 61% are highly likely to plan a New York State getaway or recommend it to a friend. So again, I think these are great numbers based on our events alone. And in elevating the perception of New York State, 69% rate their love for New York State as a 4 or 5 out of 5, which is incredibly high. I think we saw a lot of pride for New York while we were, within the state. Top travel interests include beaches, museums, and wineries. And areas for consideration that we're sort of thinking about are 71% of people would like to hear more from us about deals and offers for travel, which I think is something that we can sort of think about how we can play into that. 40% want to hear more about events. 50% have visited ILoveNewYork.com, and 62% do not follow us on any social channel. So there's definitely room for us to think about other ways to really engage with more people. And then I think what we heard over and over, which to me was almost endearing, is thank you for being here. So it wasn't from the TPAs, it wasn't from event producers, but it was from the consumers that just came to these events. And they were I think it also showed a sense of pride, it was an overwhelming sense of gratitude for us having a presence there in New York State, within the state, which I think was great. And also the thing we heard over and over was, I never knew New York had so much to offer. I never knew about that. So I think that, again, we did, in fact, inspire travel. And I just want to leave you with a little video clip. When we were in Watkins Glen, we sent a camera crew out there. We just randomly interviewed people within the event, and we asked them why they love New York. And then we quickly edited those videos down and showed them on the general screen on the racetrack. So I just wanted to play that for you. Play one of the clips for you now.
While Lisa is loading, I just want to also recognize.
I love New York because you can see anything, you can be anything, and you can do anything. Literally anything in New York.
I love New York because Watkins Glen is the wineries.
Love New York. We're up here last weekend, just hiking around, seeing the trails, seeing the world, and it's a really beautiful state to be in.
My favorite New York State experience is camping in the Adirondacks.
I love New York because I got engaged in Seneca Lake.
This is my favorite racetrack. I love just, to land in New York, drive all the way to here, and then spend as much time as possible in this area. And the lake, it's fantastic.
I love New York for the hiking, the waterfalls.
My favorite New York experience is getting married at Niagara Falls.
That's it.
That was terrific.
So we're going to take a step back now as the summer comes to an end, and really think about next year and really use sort of our learnings from this past summer, this crazy summer, and apply them to next year and get even better.
That's great. Thanks, Lisa. I have to say, I took the quiz. This weekend I went to the horse show in Central Park. You may be wondering how could they possibly have a horse show in Central Park. But this was a new show that came up in Wellington, Florida. So brand new piece of business for us, which was terrific. And Patrick and Sage were there with the I Love New York tank, so thank you guys for working the weekend. I did not get 100, I will tell you.
Did you get at least 60%?
Yes. And of course I did. Yeah. I want a hat, and then I'll just say that when I was wearing my hat, which was the I Equestrian New York, I love equestrian event. Georgette Bloomberg, who ended up winning the Grand Prix on Thursday, saw my hat, grabbed it, and said, I need one of these. We, of course, got her one right away. Thanks Lisa and Rowena. She takes a photo with it, then it goes viral because she has tens of thousands of followers. And next thing you know, when I see the next night of the show, it's New York versus the world. Which isn't that appropriate? New York versus the world, okay? Georgina's horse comes out and she has I Love New York bumper stickers on its bumper. Right on the horse's bumper. So that's sort of a whole different type of marketing. going to send it over to Linda Ayers to hear about the wonderful public relations outreach that they've been doing and wonderful results. So Linda, take it away.
This has also been a very exciting year for us. It's our year 3 working with New York. And what really characterized this year was taking advantage of all of these events in order to drive media awareness and encourage media to come up and experience New York State. In previous years, we would have a plan of press visits so that we would visit each region. This year, we focused on bringing media to the events. And in fact, that was very effective because they still managed to get to almost every region of the country and feel the energy of this state. To date, we've had coverage in the first half of the year. We had almost 400,000, we reached almost 400,000 people with 404 media clips and a value of $10,366,000. And then in just July and August to date, we have almost the same number of clips, 337 reaching 181,000. The big difference is this year we did a lot of focus on international media. We have media lists that came out of our participation powwow. We're working with the Foreign Press Association. We don't see their coverage, but we try to follow up with people we know. But we're looking forward to, as we work more closely with our international offices, to generating awareness of more of the coverage that we're getting around the world. At the Tourism Summit, we had a chance to meet a few of them. We're now sending them our press kits to use as a foundation to adapt to their market. They get all of our press releases and pitches. All of the materials we send out is being shared with our representatives around the world to avoid duplication of effort and to achieve more visibility in each of our key markets.
Lisa and Jamie, just for the minutes, for the sake of the minutes, Linda, you are shortchanging yourself because you've been saying thousands and what you mean is millions.
Millions, yes. Or millions.
Instead of 400,000, it's 400 million.
Huge difference. 400 million and 181 million. There you go. Thanks for catching that. And I just wanted to give a quick look, and we're getting the right publications too, from Condé Nast Traveler to Wall Street Journal to ANZA, which is it's the wire service for Italy. So we're trying to reach wire services for the different countries. Gina's traveled with us on 2 of the trips, and she says, there's been tons of coverage in Italy, we just haven't got a copy yet. So we're working on that, and of course the New York Times loves our state as well. So we're very, very pleased at the spectrum of media that are covering our state and what they're saying about it. Very positive comments throughout. We have a special fan down at the Philadelphia Philadelphia Sun. She comes with us on several trips, writes full-page features about our state, not Pennsylvania, so we're very pleased about that. 2014 highlights, if you move to the next one, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about them once in subsequent pages, but just to get a quick overview, we do media marketplaces 3 times a year. In March for summer, in July for fall, and then in November for winter. That's very important because people are starting to plan their trips at that time. We have to look at the chain of sales because we have to be promoting to the media with enough time that it gets covered in the media for people to decide to travel. So we're always looking at things a great deal earlier than the rest of the market is. And with the comment about wanting more deals to be able to offer, we have over 700 media that promote deals around the country. So if we can start getting those together with sufficient time, we can get them all over the country in time for people to actually book them. So the media marketplaces are a great time where we have all of our regions kind of sit around the room, and we don't talk. We have a 5-minute presentation. The point is get the media talking to the regions because they have the stories, and they're also encouraging people to come up and see their region. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Powwow is the biggest event we have each year in the United States where foreign tour operators come in and make their deals for travel to America. Obviously, New York City and New York State have a huge presence, but there's a 1-day media marketplace that we attend where there's about 500 media from around the world, trade and consumer, mostly trade, and we get a chance to pitch New York State. The Empire State Tourism Conference, we actually went there and talked to a lot of the regional representatives about how they can strengthen their PR, because their PR helps ours, and of course, to communicate with us. The more people we have promoting us, the better. The Governor's Tourism Conference was, again, very well attended. The media were very excited to come this year, and we were even able to give them an opportunity to speak with the governor for the first time. So they very much enjoyed that. The Path to History event, we'll talk a little bit more about that as well, because history is one of the pillars of our state. In the first year, the thought was, well, we're just going for that week. But then after that week, we realized that we're in the state. We have so many history tourism facilities, that it's as much a pillar of what makes our state a great destination as all of our outdoor activities. So this year, history was a part of every activity we did. Every time we brought a press up to an event, we made sure that they also got to a history facility around the state. So that's a very important part of what we're doing, and hope to increase that. Fairport Canal Days, we worked very closely with canals. We had a press trip for media at that time. Baseball Hall of Fame, a lot of people promoting that. There was a lot of noise, a lot of excitement about that, and we had a press trip going on at that time that was sure to visit it. The second annual Adirondack Challenge, again, we got a lot of media to come up and be part of it. The great thing about this year is the diversity of sports that were represented, so that made that event even more exciting. Bassmasters, boy, they love New York. I can tell. We had some television people, some top media from the fishing world, and interestingly, it coincided with the state fair. So we were able to bring up media and also have them experience the beginning of the state fair. So that made that even more exciting. And wine is a tourism element as well as a food element. So there was the Governor's Cup where he gives the awards, and this year there was a second wine cup in Long Island where we were able to bring media up. Now, I'll talk about that later. I'll tell you what we're doing as our next step on that. So with the Governor's Tourism Summit, we had 350 attendees, but 25 media came, and they were present for the entire time. We had 55 print, online, and broadcast clips that reached 57 million people, almost 58 million people, and that was the opportunity we had to meet the new team that's now working in the UK, as well as the new team that's now working in China. And we spent some time talking with them about what we can do to help them promote in their individual countries, because they're an extrapolation of us. They shouldn't be doing things to duplicate what we're doing. They need to be stretching, because PR is always a tapping point. We're always stretching the budget and stretching the efforts. The Metro North Getaway Day, we thought about ways to launch the Path Through History in a more and more dynamic way each year. The first year we had our website, which was really big to be able to come out with a site where so many of our sites can be visited. This year we wanted to have an event, and MTA really stepped up to give us this opportunity in Grand Central, tremendous foot traffic, and our regions brought in these incredible impersonators. I swear George Washington looked just like George Washington, and he was just as tall. FDR was dynamic. I have to say, I have a real preference for Susan B. Anthony. She was feisty, and she was interesting. So this brought a lot of people thinking about it, and for the first time ever, the Baseball Hall of Fame traveled with their plaque for Babe Ruth, and people were so excited about having a chance to see it. That was very, very big, and it was right there in Grand Central for people to see. As you can see, we got over 50 printed online articles, reached 58 million people. All the top pubs, Wall Street Journal, New York Post, AM New York, Cranes was there, because they get that tourism means business. Broadcast coverage too. We brought in a lot of regional media here and had 13 regional and local television people reaching 1.1 million. And WABC, WNYW, WBNG, WTVH. Again, we're bringing in people from all around the state. Because everything we're doing, whether it's in New York or Albany or Syracuse, it's all intended to promote our state as a whole. For example, canals. That goes right from Albany all the way over to Buffalo. Well, that's our whole state that it encompasses. So the Fairport Canalways was a great way also to focus on what Rochester has. There's still a lack of awareness of how rich the tourism offerings are in the Rochester area, and to bring attention to the whole canal system. So we had 5 media. Again, we had our wonderful friend Gina, who writes for the wire service in Italy. The Chinese media both the U.S.-based Chinese media and the Chinese-based Chinese media are very, very interested in New York State. New York State is a prime destination. Of course, our goal here is to get people to book upstate at the time they're booking their trip. Because if they've already booked their hotels in New York City, then they can only do a day trip. But we want them to be doing both areas in advance. So that awareness ahead of time is so important. And that doesn't necessarily take away from New York City, because what we're seeing is there's more interest in coming back. So they're still visiting New York City, but they're also adding skiing or adding a whitewater rafting trip or an experience in Niagara Falls. So that's something that we feel will augment all of our 11 regions, including New York City. We only have seen one article to date. We're following up with them, and we'll get more out of that. It was just June. We'll keep you guys aware of that. Central New York took place. We had it take place at the same time as the Baseball Hall of Fame inaugural big events. And so obviously we couldn't stay in Cooperstown, but we did definitely bring them in for the launch of those events. We had our great friend Renee Gordon of Philadelphia Sun, who has been a tremendous supporter of State Padre to reach the Hispanic market and the family market. Because family travel we see is also one of the pillars of our destination. And last year we had a family travel conference, and this year we're going to get involved with a new organization that's going to be certifying the caliber of family attractions. Because everybody sees Disney as kind of like the hallmark. That's the great family travel experience. But we have truly great family experiences in every corner of the strait, and we want to own family travel together with Disney. We'll never supersede them, but we want to join in with them. So we have some very good media that joined us for that trip, because it's the central of New York is golf, food, hiking, sports, history. So we had Siberia, we had National Geographic Traveler, Daily Meal, who was tremendously supportive of our Taste New York initiative. They've been covering a lot of our local foods. The Fall Media Marketplace, we changed this year, because in the past, we were in a venue and everybody had their table, and it was up to the media to get up to each table, to get to them. And people started saying, well, could we try the speed dating format? So we did try that this year. It's a lot more complicated, because you've got to get everybody's appointments and fit them all in. So we had a fewer number of media in order that everybody would have a chance in our time frame to visit all the regions. But both media and the regions said they liked having that 10-minute one-on-one time. That they found that more valuable than having people just wandering around. So we'll probably do that again. So we had 46 media. We usually have close to 100 for the other marketplaces, but this was very, very effective for the destinations. Adirondack Challenge was July 20th. Again, we were highlighting a wider variety of sports. And we got 50 print articles, 155 broadcast clips. It makes such a difference when our governor comes. Media follows him. His involvement is so exciting. And an interesting thing here is we brought in our Vermont governor. And so Vermont and Adirondacks, they vie with each other, but why not vie in person and show that we both have wonderful nature? Another pet project I'm hoping to do in the future was to take back Lake Champlain, which everybody thinks is in Vermont. And all the attractions are in New York State. So we'll look towards that for the future. Got to throw that.
It's all my district. I love it. And the rafters, even after last year, said they increased business totally, and this year increased business.
That's great to hear. Because, you do a lot of promotion. It's a bit like talking on radio. You don't really know how many people are listening. And to get stats like people have actually increased their business makes such a huge difference to all of us, just as you found from the activations. So that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. So the Governor's Cup we did last year. We had a great group of media that traveled around together with the public. And this year we added the Long Island Wine Cup, because Long Island wines definitely need some recommendation. But the problem was it was on that last weekend of summer. right before Labor Day. So as we were inviting media to come that weekend, we said, if you can't come this weekend, we'll do a second weekend. And so as a result, a lot of people said, oh, definitely count us in for that second weekend. So we're still confirming, and we actually gave them 4 optional dates, and we finally selected October 1st. So we actually managed to get 9 media for the full-day press trip in August, but we're hoping to have a much larger group on October 1st, because we've developed some great friends for our wines. And we're going to use that to kick off our wine bus, so that'll get us double mileage from doing that. Bassmasters was great this year. I don't know if you're aware, but we had Fins and Skins come and travel to the LA area, to the Long Island area, and also the Thousand Islands. His television program is starting to come out, and he came back for the Bassmasters. Bassmasters also brought some of their key media, and as I said earlier, we brought 4 media who attended not only the Bassmasters, but the New York State Fair, and they visited Seward's house. So again, that combination of our appeal. Right after that, by the way, it's not in here, but I thought I'd mention, we have a television program that came in called Travel Through History. It's shown on B Network, and we have one program of half an hour, which is going to be on Niagara and Buffalo. Another one is going to be on Saratoga and Albany. We'll see how those go, how we approach it, how the answers are, but he said that the cover, the video that he has, the people that he met are very dynamic, so I'm looking forward to seeing that show, which will come out this fall. He also makes it available if we want to distribute it to our schools, so that's something to think about. We'll make it available for us to give to schools to augment our children's education about what is going on. We just this last week had a golf restaurant. Some of you may have heard me say that when we did our first trip all over New York, we visited every region. One county, Wayne County, said, we have 62 golf areas. Now, I work with a lot of destinations, and very few of them have 62. So we sent an email out to all the different counties, and we have 986 golf areas in this state. That's staggering. We have more than most countries. So we definitely wanted to do some promotion of golf. We got 2 top media. We actually had 3 top media. One dropped out the day before. And we worked together with parks and with our regions in order to get them some of the finest golf experiences near New York City. So they managed to get into Bethany. Wow. Woo! Montauk Downs, the Sleepy Hollow course, Mount Ridge, wonderful, wonderful courses. So we're very excited to see the coverage that will come for that. The Golf Channel and also Cyber Golf, which gets great coverage. Just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of the range of stories that we're pushing out over the year. And some of them are done as press releases, and sometimes those are sent out by the governor, or some of them are sent out by us. And then we have pitches, just shorter things that are geared towards specific media. So this gives a range of some of the stories we did April to June, and a range of some of the stories that we did July through September. Again, we're always looking forward, so July through September, and September is when we were kicking off some of the foliage things, just starting to see a kiss of color on some of those trees. So hopefully we'll have a long foliage season. And finally, we're very proud that we had 58 media visits this year from top publications all over the country. Parade is huge. Voters Travel, Chicago Tribune, Latina. We don't have them up here, but a lot of the U.S.-China media and a lot of the international media, just wonderful media have visited our state. And I'd like to give you just a snapshot then of what we have coming up. I mentioned the Long Island wine trip on October 1 that will also promote the launch of our I Love New York bus. One thing that we saw when we were doing our fall media marketplace is New York also needs to own Halloween. We have a lot of spooky stuff and corn mazes. Aside from Sleepy Hollow, we have great stuff. So we're going to take media up to see the great jack-o'-lantern blaze, all of the activities up as far as Hudson Valley on day trips. And we're amidst inviting individual media, doing individual media trips for that. We have the Canadian Roadshow coming up in November, and we always support that by inviting the media. The Winter Media Marketplace will take place in the first week of November, and that will promote our snow season. And finally, We'll be working with you on 2015 strategic planning. So we're very excited about our work with you now and in the future.
Thank you so much, Linda. Now we're going to move to new business, and it's a pleasure to introduce Kim Wright, the Vice President of Sales and Tourism of the 9/11 Memorial Museum. We thank you, Kim, to you and your colleagues for inviting the TAC to actually visit the museum on its first day that it opened back in May. I know many of you were able to do that. So Kim, can you give us an update on how the museum has done over the 4 months that it's been open? It's been 5 months.
Thank you, Christine and Gavin, for having me here today. And as Christine mentioned, a lot of you have already been to the museum. If you have not, please do let me know. I have a handout on your tables which has our contact information on it. I'd be happy to have anyone come and visit. The museum opened to the public on May 21st of this year, and in just about 4 months, we welcomed 1 million visitors. We did that ahead of schedule. It's a great testament to just how amazing this museum is. The memorial, which opened in 2011, has seen over 15 million visitors. Now that the fences surrounding the Memorial Plaza, most of them are down and we're no longer a ticketed visit, we probably will be the top thing in New York City this year, close to 6 million visitors. So we're very excited about that. The Memorial Museum, a tremendous asset to have in Lower Manhattan. I've heard a few of you talk about the history of New York. And New York City, definitely New Amsterdam, being one of these very historical destinations, Lower Manhattan is one of the oldest of the neighborhoods. What I want to talk about also is what our outreach is going to be to maintain this visitation level. We have had visitors from all 50 states and over 130 different countries just to the museum. That number is higher for the memorial. We're taking a couple of different approaches for the visitation. We feel that every American should visit the museum. I think that's a little bit obvious. But this was a global event that impacted over 90 different nations. We recognize that through our international outreach. We will be focusing in the upcoming year and years with the UK market, the Canadian market, and the German market as well, which are 3 of our top 10 theater markets. It's what New York City sees. I'm sure it's what New York State as a whole is probably going to see as well. From a domestic standpoint, just going back, international is about 30% of our visitation. So we definitely see that there's an opportunity to grow that. With the domestic side, we have a couple of really exciting things that have recently been announced. New York State, that's all of the state, school groups are covered by a grant by the Helmsley Foundation. So all of the school groups that come and visit the museum will do educational programs with a department that help put this into context for these young visitors, most of whom were either not born or too young to understand 9/11. So that's very exciting. New York State is the #1 domestic state visiting the museum, which is really it's a great thing for us to be able to say that. The memorial, New Yorkers obviously come to the memorial, but not as strongly as they are visiting the museum. So we really hope to grow that. And through a lot of the staycation type of advertising that you mentioned, we think that works both ways, and that we can get some people that are up here to come down to the city for their day trips. We have a very diverse group of people visiting the museum, and I know we've talked very briefly about how do we tap into that market to make sure they are staying in the state, whether they're doing it that first time or they're coming back for the second time. So I'd love to talk about some collaboration at another time about how we can look to do some cross-promotional things together. The memorial the image of the memorial has become synonymous with New York. One World Trade Center has been now fabric of the skyline. The memorial is used in a lot of patriotic aspects. You'll see the flyovers on July 4th when the Super Bowl was in town. And it's a testament to it being not just a very somber place, but a place that is bringing life back to Lower Manhattan. With One World Trade opening at the end of this year for tenants, and then next year with the observation deck, we're very excited about what that's going to mean for the whole area rebuilding. In conclusion, I want to mention about some of the the travel and trade aspects of what we do. It's very delicate to be promoting the Memorial Museum. We don't really necessarily say it's an advertising campaign, but it's more awareness. And I know many of you in this room that I've seen at trade shows will be asking questions about it. I'm more than happy to provide any follow-up information that would help you talk about the museum. And thank you again for having me here today.
Great, thank you, Kim. Any questions for Kim?
Is the one by many all schools can have a trip paid for to go to it, or just the admission?
All New York State schools with their admission, we have a set number of programs each day set aside for schools that we do reserve that. So that's what the free program is.
All right, they still have to pay for the transportation to the museum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, with the number of people that came, what is the percentage of school groups? I guess it's too early.
It's a little too early.
But in your projections, what are you anticipating would be the percentage of school groups?
It's probably going to be single-digit numbers. I would say a little bit, about 5% or so. Just thinking off my budget sheets in my head right now. It's a little early because we just launched the programming in September, and having opened it at the end of May, we're right into the summer season. But we do have dozens of programs on a weekly basis, if not hundreds on a monthly basis. Yeah, we have a full education team that will come and do all the programs. And each program is a 2-hour visit, which is a workshop that includes the tour. So there's a classroom experience and then a tour of the space of the museum.
Very important. So keep up the great work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now it's opened up to the TAC. If you have any business or something we need to know about or something we should be doing that we're not, please share with us. Anybody on the phone? Do you have something?
Questions?
Sure.
Sorry, what was that?
I have a question for Ross. When will the 2015 plan for the LGBT program be rolling out? Because I know that we have a number of individual business partners as well as regional destinations who are interested, and many of us have already had to submit our budgets for next year, so to be able to prepare to dovetail in.
Yeah, we can start talking right away. We've already started teasing some of the things that are happening sort of January, February. We haven't gotten as far as next June, but we should talk because we can start doing that right away.
Another question relating to Catholic history. Will those weekends remain in the month of June?
It's going to be divided.
Yeah, instead of 2 weekends next year, there's going to be 1 weekend. There's actually already dates for it, but I want to check the website without telling it is in June. That is at the recommendation of the historical sites that host them. They like doing it before school is out because it's a way to sort of get school groups. And yet it's also not, it's early enough that people get excited about traveling over the summer. It's not during the height of the season when they're the busiest. So it is in June. I can get you the exact date.
I think it's done in collaboration too with the Museum Week, which was started. Many of our museums have joined in. A lot of states do have a Museum Week where they offer deals. Colorado, it's free to New York State residents to go to any museum in the state. And, if they take a special tour or something like that, they pay for that. Gets people into the museum before they have company and visitors come in. So we started it, and the historic weekends were weekends with museum weekends, etc. So it's still coordinating.
And then my last question relates back to the roadside signs. A number of attractions, if they're in the Catholic history program in the website, those signs have come through. But the other attraction signs that have the Isle of New York, the white signs with the Isle of New York logo on them, how does one get nominated to be on one of those signs?
You should send the information to me. There's a process that has to happen with DOT, governor's office to some degree, but a good place to start is to send me that information. There is a lot of cases dealing with people who have already paid to be on a sign, and so it has to do with available space, and it's new signs are put out, space is available, but you can certainly send information to me. That can be starting the process.
process. Also distance from the sign. There's a reg dealing with how far you can be from the actual road sign. And the sign then has to be from not just there, but all the way to the destination. So there's a 5,000 attractions sign over the summer, or since the beginning of the year, include secondary and tertiary roads, because you can't just sign it on the highway, you got to take it all the way there. So, yeah, the process is that.
And lastly, it's not a question, it is just a giant thank you ordinance. This is a major accomplishment. And I can't thank you enough. I'm proud of the Deal Association especially, and this is important. We appreciate what you do.
Senator Little, I just wanted to bring to your attention that Linda and I had the pleasure of taking the train up together. I know you've been pushing us to do more and more with the trains. So, much to my pleasure, this was in our pocket in front of us, not a Ride magazine, but this lovely New York by Rail. Flipped through it, and it is flipped through quite a bit, so I can only imagine that a lot of people are reading it. And also this wonderful magazine of In New York, which is a lot to do with the city, but they do have a nice piece on restaurants and what's going on a little bit more upstate. But it seems like Amtrak is doing a little bit more about helping us promote.
I had a guy that came to me from Quebec, Montreal, I think, and he is trying to do an overnight train, and you get on at 7:30 in Montreal, and you have cocktails and dinner, and there's a Pullman car. But when you get to Albany, then they connect you with the last train going to New York City. The cars are hooked on. They go to New York City, they get there at 8:30 in the morning. By the time they get there, they don't get there at night, they get there during the night. So they take the first train in the morning, they're in New York City at 8:30 in the morning. They can get back on the train at 7:30 at night, and it's the lounge, the cocktail hour, a dining car, and they get that, and then when they get to Albany, they hook them up to the Pullman cars, and they get back to Montreal the next morning. And he believes that there's a business for this. You can go to New York City and stay 2 days and only have one hotel, or you can go down and have no hotel and spend the whole day in New York City. He says he has an investor. We're still working on it, so, but he will allow bikes on it too.
Oh, good.
And that's just such a big thing, all the biking, and I have not really made a lot of progress with Amtrak.
Well, I saw a press release that went out earlier this summer from the railroad that they were extending the number of hours that they were allowing bikes on the trains. So, little by little, I think it's starting to take off.
Yeah, but then Albany to Montreal, there's so many places they can get off and ride the bikes, bike races, and triathlons, and eventually it would help. And this is really, in my 19 years in the legislature, I think this is more tourism activity and promotion by the state than I've ever seen.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Gavin for his leadership and also really having the backing of you in the state senate and also the governor. And I think our
Jack's done a good job.
Yeah, takes it seriously. And also my co-chair here, who's been kind of quiet today. You're a star.
It's just been very busy.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah, very busy. Had an opportunity to go to Cooperstown.
All right.
And see Baseball Hall of Fame. And actually went twice. My son was on a couple of teams. So I got to go down and see Baseball Hall of Fame and actually see one of my favorite players that just got in this year, Frank Thomas. So very nice. And I played that golf course too. That's on the sheet there. Yeah. It's very nice. I actually sent a picture of the hotel where they stay in to our president of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and put their hotel, the Baseball Hall of Fame hotel, I guess our hotel. It's ridiculous. Nice. It's like,
which hole shares the same green? Is it like 1 and 9?
Oh, 1 and 9, I think.
9,
okay. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so it was beautiful. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed it.
Good. So Thurman is going to chair the Sports and Events Committee. Jan will be chairing the Hospitality Committee. And make sure, and Gail Ribbit from Delta will be chairing the Aviation and Transportation Committee. So expect a call from Ross about coordinating those conference calls so that by the time our next meeting comes up, which will be on November 19th, we'll have some preliminary reports. 17th, I'm sorry, 17th November at 11 a.m. And that meeting will take place back at 633 3rd Avenue because I think the construction will be right. If there isn't any additional business, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Senator Little, second. Peter, thank you very much. It is now 12:45, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for joining us today.